What's up, everyone? Mr. NoobTube Gamer. Today we're playing Battlefield 3 in 2024, 13 years later. And look, you guys can see by the gameplay, it's very impressive that for a 2011 game, the game still looks as amazing and modern as it does. It really does feel and look like a modern game that could have been released maybe not in 2024, but a lot sooner than 2011, that's for sure. And we'll talk about the gameplay and all that, but the most important thing when you guys are clicking on a video like this about Battlefield 3 in 2024, you guys want to know first and foremost, do people still play this game online? The answer is yes. There is still a pretty good community. I would say there's like a couple thousand people that play. It's hard to tell because just looking at the Steam charts doesn't really do it justice, because there are a lot of people like myself that have the game through Origin or EA, whatever it's called now, the EA app. Because if you look at the Steam chart, it says that there's a few hundred concurrent players. There's definitely more than that. You do have a lot of full 64-player Conquest servers at any given time of the day, depending on what region you live in, of course. So if you live in, like, Asia, that is very hard to actually find games still in 2024. But if you live in EU or North America, it's going to be pretty easy to get games with DLC, even because premium is included with EA Play, so a lot of people do have the DLC, and also there are a lot of people on Steam that have the DLC, because it's like Battlefield 3 is one of the best DLC content of all time. Like Endgame, come on, Endgame was incredible. And also, even Close Quarters was good. I would go as far as to say, of all the Battlefield games that had paid DLC, this was certainly the best one of those. And it really takes the experience to another level, because those maps are incredible, and the content that is offered in the DLC. So if you don't have it, definitely get it, is what I'm trying to tell you guys. The only thing that sucks about playing the game online on PC is that it still has that shitty web browser that you have to use in order to access the servers and connect to a match, instead of just having an in-game server browser. And it's really annoying, but it's definitely not a deal breaker or something that is ruining the game. It just kind of sucks and it's annoying, but you deal with it. And other than that, there really isn't much negative to say about playing the game in 2024. It still looks great, plays great, at least on PC. On console, it's a different story, because the game really wasn't made for those old consoles at that point in 2011. The PS3 and 360 were so outdated. I mean, BF3 was great for what it was on those consoles. I'm not trying to say, oh, it was shit on PS3 and 360, but it definitely hasn't aged well. Like, I would say, like, you know, at this point, obviously, because it's an old game, you can run the game pretty fine on any PC at this point, like, you know, within reason, because it was a pretty demanding game for its time in 2011, but I feel like even if you're not, like, a hardcore PC gamer, you don't really have a rig built for gaming, you can still run this game fine in 2024, and it'll be just way better than anything you ever experienced on the console versions. It just is, because the graphics, you know, the graphics, I don't really care about that, but the frame rate is the big thing. It runs 30 FPS on the PS3 and 360, and that's just, it doesn't feel good. And plus, 64 players on PC is so much better. Like, there's some maps that are definitely made to cater towards the smaller 24-player cap that the consoles have, but it's just, the game is just made, like, you have to play the PC version to understand it. I did not understand it until I played the PC version years later, so that is something I'm seriously going to highly recommend. There are still players, though, on console, especially the Xbox 360 via backwards compatibility. PS3 still has some players as well. I have a suspicious feeling, because they shut down a lot of older Battlefield servers last year. They shut down 1943, Bad Company 1, and Bad Company 2. You can still play Bad Company 2 through custom servers on PC, but I suspect with Battlefield 3, that is going to be the next game to get shut down by EA, at least the console versions. I'm not sure. They might keep the PC version up, but as far as 360 and PS3, I think its days are numbered, as well as the PS3 and 360 versions of Battlefield 4 and Battlefield Hardline. I predict that's probably going to happen within the next 2 years or so, maybe 3 if we're lucky. So all my console players, be prepared for that possibility. But between the way that the weapons feel and driving the vehicles, the tanks, and the helicopters, every aspect of this game just beats the shit out of the new 2042, which is insane because it came out a decade after, and this one is still better, in my opinion. I mean, I think in the opinion of most. So it's great if you are a fan of the Battlefield series and you never got a chance to play this one. I think especially if you're a fan of Battlefield 4, you most certainly will be a fan of Battlefield 3 because they're both very, very similar to each other. And also the campaign, I guess I talk about that a little bit. It really is not much to say. It's not worth it. Don't get the game just for the single player. Don't expect to spend a lot of time on the single player, because it was very forgettable and not very good. But I've never heard of anyone buying a Battlefield game just to play single player, aside from maybe Bad Company, because that is a series known for its campaigns, kind of. But yeah, Battlefield 3 was pretty forgettable. Don't get it for the single player. Multiplayer, though, is still great. Whether you're returning for nostalgia or if you're playing for the first time, I think you're gonna get a lot out of this game in 2024, especially on PC.